I'm gonna sit in the back. Maybe behind the piano. Mike, further back as possible. We're not gonna stop. You've been done all along. Well, we're gonna try to do
More things to say.
we're gonna try to probably do a full picture.
There seems to
It's not,
well,
we're not doing
I'm gonna scoot. Well, I don't know. I'll ask you where to go. Can I sit next to you? Yeah. You got it. You
well,
did.
it was silly.
Your wife was fussing, but I was okay. Yeah, and I was like, it's all right. I felt smooth. It's all good. So what, we're on a 3-minute schedule, right? 3 minutes. Yes. Oh, I'm on 3. No, this will take. Yeah. Oh, is that? And then there was, and there was their that went after the birthday. And we kept singing. Now, and I would suggest you start tonight too. So, but I know that one night we would come back to do late all team meetings for the evening staff. And I drove up one night and I saw a bear coming. You know, you see a car, mama's not far. I drove as close to that door as I could, and I swear, I jumped out there, I almost died in the Bell Center. It was like, I'm not a nature lover, I don't have. And I'm in New Jersey, you know?
Jersey.
Yeah.
Calming.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see any when I was in Wyoming. I did see bull elk, though, they were amazing.
It's 2:00. They've got a new microphone. Maybe it's because in the past you've always complained, I don't speak into it and you can't hear me. Am I coming through to everybody? Fantastic. Does everybody recognize the little red symbol with the slash through it up on the screen? It says, please turn off your cell phones because we want to make sure you don't miss anything we say here today. Anyway, I welcome you to the June membership meeting. I was hoping we would outpoll Project 2025, but I don't think we did that. Maybe we'll have to write a similar manifesto and it'll generate more interest here at the forest. Anyway, your board has been very active for you over the past 3 months, as you'll find out as the committee reports bring you up to date. Filling in both what we've done early in the year, but emphasizing more what has occurred in the last quarter. Since we have a full agenda, what I'd like to do is move fairly quickly to cover the first item, which is namely the minutes of the minutes from the last meeting for approval. The minutes have been posted in the connection room. They've been available at the websites for people's perusal. So I propose that the minutes be accepted as submitted. All those in favor, raise their hands. All those opposed, raise their hands. Thank you much. The minutes are now formally accepted. With that, as you are probably aware, the Forest of Duke has 2 boards. The Resident Association Board, which is us, is here to protect and represent the rights, privileges, and interests of the residents. However, there is a governance board as well. And the Forest at Duke Board of Directors provides careful oversight of the organizational operations. And this is very crucial to our long-term stability and existence. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome here today the current chairman of our board, Charles Chuck Kennedy, who provide a few comments. You can read his interesting bio on forestduke.org, but very briefly, he received his degree from Guilford College, He's currently a senior employee benefit specialist at Hub International. And more importantly, he is a Durham native, and he currently resides here with his wife and 2 children. Chuck, really great to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here today. When Jim asked me if I would speak, he said I didn't have to say a whole lot. Somebody once told me there are 3 parts of a great talk: a good beginning, a great ending, and not a lot in between. So I will be brief. I came on the board at the behest of a former board chair, Dave Pottinger, who's a friend of mine. I really didn't know what I would be doing when I came in. I've really enjoyed my time on the board. I've been on the Long Range Planning Committee. I've been on the Nom and Gov. I was vice chair under Harvey Cohen, which nobody can do the work that Harvey Cohen does. But I'm happy to be here. I can tell you from your members up here on the panel that are on our board, we have our bylaws, if you're not familiar, say that we need to have minimum of 9, no more than 18 board members, 2 or 3 of which can be residents. I've been impressed with a lot of the resident board members. The first 2 people I met when I came on the board were Arnie Lehman and Dean McCumber. They're an echelon that I hope to achieve, but probably never will. So there's some great people. I can tell you under Anita's leadership and the executive team in our board meetings, as recently as our board meeting this morning, the board's intent, in fact, our mission statement is everything that we're going to do, we try to do with what's the best for the Forest residents, first and foremost, and that will, at least as long as I'm on the board, that's what we'll continue to do. So thank you very much for your time.
We now move on to the person who needs no introduction, Anita, to give us the CEO update. Anita?
Good afternoon. Oh, this really is louder. So I've got just a few quick things, and Jim said we had to be quick and on point. You know how hard that is for me. But we are in the middle of multiple inspections this week for plumbers, electricians, elevator, phone, and fire. They are going through this week. We can have the certificate of occupancy as early as the end of this week or as late as June 30th. We expect to see substantial completion by June 30th or at the latest July 15th. You always need that window. And then we expect the common areas furniture to come into the terraces on the week of August 2nd. And the milestone for last week was getting the water turned on in the building. That happened successfully. They've been testing every floor and making sure we don't have leaks and all that good stuff. The water milestone is the one that allows the marketing team to reach out to the new residents and begin the process of signing residence and care agreements. So we're moving in the direction. On June 30th, there will be a whole house meeting at 10:30. It is to provide an overview for the terraces, program overview, and a schedule of meetings to follow. We will do called meetings early in the month of July, making sure that we speak specifically to the RA board, the dining committee, the activities committee, and marketing, and then some other subgroups that have popped up. And then immediately following those meetings, we will do coffee and conversations. And coffee and conversations will be done 3 at a time. So it's a meeting with the committee, and then coffee and conversation, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 in the evening. We will film the third or record the third one because we will have any extra questions that came up. So the third one should have the most information. But don't worry, somebody has to show up for 1 and 2, so we have more stuff to refine. So we hope that that works with your schedule. We will do those things and make sure that they are available to you at your leisure if you want in terms of recording.
And if I could read my writing, I could. Our furniture, as I said, is going to come the week of August 2nd. We will start to do tours then because it'll be safe to do so. And the connector will be open so that we won't have to go around and do transportation, and we won't have to do hard hat tours, but we'll be able to do direct tours. So we are proceeding as we should. We're going to get through the summer, and I hope that we see all of you at the employee and team member celebration on this Friday during Team Member Appreciation. So, thank you.
And now on to our financial report, Andre Allen.
Hi, everybody. I am your Residents Association Treasurer, and I'm the one that posts every month our financial statement in the connections room for everybody to see, and it has revenue and expenses there. And at last posting on May 31st, our balance was $16,284. And I'm not mentioning cents when I'm talking because there's too many numbers. There are two topics that I want to cover this time. First, our end of the fiscal year 24-25 projection. That is, what do we expect to spend for the whole year compared to the budget that was established before? So our revenues consist of the Resident Association membership dues and the Pictorial Directory fundraising. So for the Resident Association dues, membership dues, since we have automatic billing added to the monthly statement fee, then we took in $3,560. And that's compared to $2,860 that used to be expected before. So that's good. Then for our January 25 Pictorial Directory fundraiser, we took in $5,910, and that's short of the $6,000 that we expected. So our revenue is like $9,470. So in terms of expenses, we are spending less than we budgeted. And that's because, for example, the forest is going digital, and that's less printing. Is that too loud? Oh, okay, I'll try to stand a little bit further. And that will cost only $3,683 instead of the $4,500 budgeted. And then another expense is cost of the Resident Association website. We'll end up spending $822 instead of $1,800. And I think that's because the website was not updated as planned. And the other expenses that we have is for the layout and the printing of the Pictorial Directory. We only spent $1,348, and that's compared to $2,100 budgeted. Some great savings from the people that worked on the project. So at the end of the fiscal year, our projected book balance is estimated to be $14,228, and that's compared to the $11,410 that we had at the beginning of the fiscal year. The second big topic is the Spring 2025 Employee Appreciation Fund drive, which ended on June 6th last week. And that was my first campaign, and I want to thank you all for the great results. And I also want to thank Ken Barrett, our former campaign manager and current mentor, and Dave Smith in accounting, Jennifer Key in the health center, and Emma Quick, who published the reminders in the Forest Forward every week. And also want to thank Tony Davis, who sends the thank you letters to the residents who contributed. And then all the people behind the scene that, so here is an overview of what we collected and how the money is being used. We collected 143,384. That is the highest amount donated so far. And it was collected from independent living households. That's always the majority of the donations. $107,599. We had increased participation of 91.9%. So again, I thank you all for that. That's 205 households out of 223. We get less money from the health center, but we had a great big unexpected donation from a family of a resident, and we ended up collecting $34,917. Then we always get something from early acceptance people, $868. So what do we do with that money? Well, that goes to the staff, and the award payments were made on June 13, so that's very recent. And the average net payout to staff was $503. The awards ranged from $11 to $962. That depends on the years of service and the hours a week that people work. Needless to tell you that staff is very thankful. It comes in time for vacation, and also it's used for items outside of family budget. And it definitely improves the morale and the staff retention. We have improved staff retention. And that completes my presentation, and thank you again.
Thank you much, Andre. It looks like we're in good shape financially as we move forward. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, the board has been very busy in terms of interacting and communicating with the administration in terms of all resident issues and concerns. And I can also assure you that the community atmosphere we've been addressing equally well to make sure that it continues to grow to support the diverse offerings that make the forest what it is. And I think one of the attributes of this community is the people in this room and maybe watching on TV that constitutes the heartblood of what Forest at Duke really is, coupled with the great working team we have in terms of supporting us, and I think that is reflected in our support through the employee appreciation funds. In any event, you'll hear a lot more detail in terms of what has been taking place by the various committees, and I'll let them take you through that since they're the ones doing all the work in terms of interfacing and providing that information. It'll be very brief, so I urge you to look up the detailed reports, which I say are posted monthly in the Connections Room. They sit there for a year before they're moved into archival, but in the meantime, they're also available on the website. So you get easy access to any of the past records for the year if it is of interest. Anyway, a major part of the effort that we have been spending throughout this whole year has clearly been directed to the terraces and the upcoming opening, which will bring in an anticipated 100 plus new residents. And that opening, which we've always sort of looked and said, I don't know when it's going to be, is now literally right around the corner. The light is at the end of the tunnel, and if you've been able to peer over the fences, in terms of the decorations and groundwork that's taken place around the forest, the terraces, it looks like a completed project, but it's not quite there yet. But in any event, that opening will have a tremendous impact, not only on us, but on the 100+ residents coming in. And our challenge will be to integrate them into the forest as we know it. And you'll find there's a lot of work going on to make that happen. Anyway, I want to assure you that although the decisions have not been fully made and completed by the administration, there's good communications between the RA board and the administration to keep us up to date on what's taking place. And more importantly, there's a very good coupling and interaction between the governing board that's overseeing the long-term aspects of the operations. My plan is to hold board meetings through June, July, August, and September, and not take any sabbatical, because clearly many things will be happening, and that'll allow us to keep you up to date through the postings we've been making on Cubico and other forms of communication. With that, what I'd like to move to is the next order of business, which is the comments by the committees, and we'll go by alphabetical listing of the committees themselves. The first one up is activities, with Elizabeth Gillis reporting. As you may know, Elizabeth is taking a sabbatical at the health center and is therefore unable to join us today, but she has provided the report, and I will hopefully deliver it to you in as good a fashion as she would. Anyway, the main purpose of the Activities Committee is to work with the staff of Community Life to help plan monthly activities, which are varied and interesting for all residents. The Activities Committee has 5 subcommittees. The Life at the Forest, which basically sets up 2 programs, spring and fall, to orient people as to what the various activities are within the forest and make them better aware of the community that they're in. Second group is the Forest Readers. It meets weekly on Wednesday afternoons. The readers are residents who present readings from articles, books, and their own original writings. The third group, the Book Discussion Group, meets monthly to discuss books they have selected. This month, they will be voting on the books they'll read for the next session. The Celebrations Committee plans events of all sorts, from happy to the serious, and you've been joyful participants in many of those celebrations. And the last is the Mix and Mingle Group, which tries to bring together new residents and the old residents, and that will become much more active, of course, as the terraces open and we try to make sure people become knowledgeable of who has been moving in. Top items from the last few months. The Oscar Mover Series. I know some of you have gone to see that. I was joyed to see it, so I could say to myself, how did these movies get put up for those Oscar nominations? But so be it, they did, and I think the right ones won. The Women's History Appreciation Brunch was very successful, with all tables being fully filled in the auditorium. Mix and Mingle hosted a small event in May for new independent living residents. And Pam Taylor, the Community Wellness Manager, arranged a presentation of legacy healthcare services on fall prevention that I know many of you attended along with myself. The Resident Handbook is now available. Hooray, hooray. Let's give a hand of applause to Anita and the administration for putting that together. I know there have been many people who have waiting, I won't say patiently, who have been waiting for the handbook, and it is there and available. It's available electronically. And if you want hard copy, you can get hard copy from Sarah Haney. And I should mention that Anita announced to the governing board today that although it came out today, it'll probably have to be rewritten in 3 months so we can start the cycle again. Anyway, summarizing, the Activities Committee will continue programs that have proven to be popular and introduce a variety of informative and stimulating programs that will enrich us in our life here at the Forest. The Activities Committee clearly wants to extend their thanks to Community Life for their help and support in making the place, the Forest, a place that we're living in, and as I say, the interaction between the two groups is superb. And then last but not least, Elizabeth wants to make sure that thanks are extended to all the members of the Activities Committee for their interest, input, and ideas. Next on the agenda.
My name is Sanford Berg, and I have been the leader of the caucus committee for a couple of months. The caucus groups represent 17 neighborhoods, and it's soon to be 21 when the terraces is added. So we're currently seeking a representative from the health center. We had a temporary one, and she returned to independent living. The purpose of the caucus structure is to provide a smooth communication channels between our residents and the resident board, association board. And the caucus leaders are asked to identify problems and concerns by residents and propose solutions. If you've been a caucus leader or in the past or currently one, raise your hand. That's about a third or quarter of the people here. And I think it illustrates how engaged many of us are and appreciate the work that is done. We meet monthly, and usually we focus on a single topic, which is recommended by members of the some caucus leader. We've had the activities, the health, almost every board, every committee up here has come and shared and answered questions to the caucus committee. We also receive updates from our Chief Operating Officer, Sharon Pitt, about TFAD developments. And then she responds to questions that the caucus leaders have. And the key issue then is, how do we get information back to our people in our neighborhood? That usually is done through emails, through handouts, and just through communications. In April, we focused on the information technology and heard from the technology committee and the IT administrator. And Ken Barrett showed us how residents can so easily insert their biographies into Cubigo. And I won't ask for a hand raising of those that have the biographies in Cubigo yet, but the process does continue. It's useful to have that information there so that we get to know each other better. We also discussed the door knocker process, and this is designed as a system in extreme emergencies when telephone is down, internet is down, electricity is off, as a way of who the security will contact and then go from door to door just to let people know what's happening, how meals will be going, and how things might be concluded. In May, Andre Allen, our treasurer, asked the caucus leaders to solicit donations for the Employee Appreciation Fund. Clearly that was successful. We also learned from marketing committee's plans for welcoming and integrating new terrace residents. And Ellen Barrett described that group's work. She'll describe more here, but clearly they've been doing a lot of work. Photos and short bios from the terraces will be published in a booklet. And since traditional articles in the Forester would just take up too much space, but those will be available to us all. And then interim caucus leaders from the terraces have already been appointed. They will be coming to the residents' caucus meetings and identifying the full-time caucus leaders who live in the terraces. This last month, also Rose Mills is seeking new mentors for us. I don't know what percentage of the mentors program is complete, but if you are interested and able, please contact her, as she would love to have some new names. In June, we reviewed the roles and responsibilities of caucus leaders, and we're really asked to conduct at least 2 meetings in our neighborhoods per year. And at our gathering, at our own meeting, we shared ideas about what kinds of events, activities worked best to help people get to know each other better, how to welcome new members into these our caucuses. And I'm preparing a listing that should help the new Terrace caucus leaders and any current caucus leaders who are looking for new ideas. At the meeting, we also updated information about mentors, which is another important role for the caucuses. I've been very impressed with the skill and the energy and dedication exhibited by the different caucus leaders and for the people that I've gotten to know better through our RA meetings. And just to summarize, the primary goal of our caucuses is to increase information exchange available to residents, to promote communication, and ultimately to encourage social interactions within our community. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Collins. I chair the Dining Services Committee, which I'll refer to as DSC from this point on. The mission of the DSC is essentially to function as a liaison between the residents and the administration at the Forest in order to ensure the best possible dining experience for residents. That includes the quality of the food, the diversity of the food offerings, the ambiance of the various dining venues, etc. I'll present to you some highlights from the DSC meetings over the last 3 months since the last general membership meeting. First, a very good response rate was achieved, 74%, with the recent Residents' Dining Preferences Survey, and I thank all of you who participated in that. Nathan Summers has presented summaries of both the statistical data, that is the data that was collected, check boxes to the specific questions, as well as the information that was obtained on the written comments in that written comment area. And it's interesting, 77% of survey respondents did provide written comments of one fashion or another. Nathan's presented these data at the last 2 DSC meetings, and these have been summarized in the minutes of the May and June DSC meetings, which are available to all of you. Nathan is hoping to present the dining preferences survey data collected in a talk to all residents audience here in the auditorium sometime either this month or next month. And the intent is to follow that up with a series of smaller group discussions for residents who either want clarification of some points or feel further discussion of the survey results would be warranted. And schedule on that will be sent out soon. The intent is for the staff to use the information collected as plans are finalized relative to the impact of the opening of the terraces on dining services, venues, and operations. Second point, the recent decision to change the special pasta offerings from Fridays to Mondays, which was driven primarily by changes in Kenny's work schedule, has been rescinded. As I think you all know, it's gone back to Friday, and this was in response to what I would call impassioned input from a significant number of residents. But I think this illustrates the willingness of the administration to respond to the desires of the Forest residents. That's That's the good side. We did discuss at this last meeting both the rationale behind it and the process that was used, and we're using this as a learning experience as we go forward with other possible changes in dining operations. Thirdly, and you all have received a notice about this in your boxes. You may not all have seen it yet, but it went out today. Given the marked underutilization of Rosewood for Sunday lunch and the need for additional space in Heartwood for the frequently very crowded Sunday brunch meal, weighted Sunday meal service in Rosewood has been terminated effective this coming Sunday. The staff can provide assistance to anybody who typically had eaten in Rosewood on Sunday lunch with weighted service if they so need it. And I would encourage that anybody who falls into that category contact Nathan, alert them, and the staff will be available to provide assistance carrying trays for those folks. Fourth, the Forest Dining Services team is currently evaluating the feasibility of adding a second checkout station, which would probably be located near the entrance to Rosewood/Heartwood, so in the entrance into the dining area, and would be utilized only for people who are taking out meals. And the intent is to reduce the backups that occur on occasion at the present checkout station in Heartwood. It's, again, they have to look at the physical layout to see if this is feasible, but it is being evaluated at this time. And then lastly, and Anita sort of preempted this in her comments, I knew that Anita was attempting to schedule an all residents presentation either this month, and it sounds like it's June 30th, or July, to discuss how the forest is planning to address the impact of the terraces on dining services, venues, and operations. This is still a work in progress, but obviously we're getting pretty close. I encourage you all to continue sending in your comments, whether through Cubigo or directly to me, both positive and negative. I do want to emphasize, although those of you who read the minutes of the dining committee meetings may feel that there's only complaints, that's because we focus on that, but we're getting way more compliments and accolades than negative comments. And what's been particularly well received have been the special meals in Rosewood. Those have been extremely popular, and we get great responses to that. So thanks.
Good afternoon. I'm Joel Huber. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. I'm Joel Huber, and this is, I'm talking about the Resident Finance Committee. Our role is to understand an extremely complicated series of financial events that make this place work. We don't make decisions. Our job is to figure it out. We'll talk to the board, but they're making the decisions, and our job is to make sense for you. We have an extraordinarily good group of people who are very knowledgeable about it, that you can talk with about it, and that's our job. We meet regularly with Karen Henry, who is the CFO, and she explains what's going on and gives us lots of chance to understand what is going on. And we have a remarkably good group. So what I'm going to do today is just summarize some of the highlights. It's been now a year for me on this committee, which was a shock. Oh, my wife's going, she can't hear me. Okay, it is still a shock. And so I'll just give some highlights. In the last few years, the Forest at Duke greatly expanded its health center and residential capacity. That growth required increasing debt and recurring more and involved in recruiting more employees to venture. Try this. To venture into to service a greater physical plant and greater numbers of residents. As a nonprofit, the forest needed to do three things: increase the desirability of its place to live, improve the attractiveness of it as a place to work, and reinforce its viability as an investment. Tough businesses. Those three goals were helped by our high rating in the U.S. News and World Report that compared 66 us with 66 North Carolina continuous care retirement communities. So we started in a very good position. Their first goal was to attract new residents. The sales and marketing staff were charged with that task. Their activities included generating focused digital marketing and coordinated critical support from current residences. And they have kept percent occupancy of these efforts have resulted in many commitments for the terraces, and they have kept percent occupancy of apartments and cottages above 95%. Secondly, improving employee selection and development. That required coordinated attention from all directors of the forests. That effort already decreased annual employee turnover from 60% to 20%. Finally, careful budgeting and increased commitments by new residents have enabled the forest to pay off a short-term debt in 4 months rather than the planned 18 months. So we're in good shape. This is a gratifying start about which we can be proud. But as you'll learn, there is much more work to be done. We're now actively involved in welcoming new residents into our community and planning the physical and organizational shifts needed as they arrive. Currently, Anita Holt and Karen Henry are implementing a zero-based budgeting process. That requires forest department heads to prepare operational projections that do not depend on what they got last year. In August, the final budget will be proposed and will be signed on by our board of directors. In September, the plan and annual resident fees will be presented to all of us residents. As that proceeds, the Resident Financial Committee looks forward to updating you on that process. Thank you.
I'm Dave Sloan, Chair of the General Services Committee. Our function is to maintain close liaison with TFAD's General Services Department to assure quality service in the areas of grounds and landscaping, buildings, landscaping, and security and transportation. We meet monthly with Nathan Summers, Chair of that department, and we have subcommittees for community garden beds, which is now headed by Jay Williams, the Rose Garden, Sue Staples, Wood Shop, me, other garden areas around campus, Robin Sloan, and the greenhouse, for which we have no current leader. Our last couple of meetings have concentrated on reestablishing TFAD's moribund recycling program. You in the apartments may notice new lime green recycling carts in the trash rooms on the second floor. It's important to follow the posted guidelines about what can go into these carts. You can find reports on our meetings in a binder in the connections room and in the committee section of Cubigo. If you have questions or comments, feel free to contact me or the appropriate subcommittee chair.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Small, Chair of the Governance Committee. Governance looks after all things governance, including elections, and we've got an election coming up. The next time we meet will be the annual meeting, and we'll be electing a president, a vice president, and 3 board members. And next month, you'll be receiving in your mailbox an invitation to submit names of people that you think would be good for those positions. And you can submit those to the nominating committee, which I'm happy to say is going to be chaired by Elizabeth Gillis. And that's it from the world of governance.
Hello, I'm Dan Blazer. I'm the chair of the Health Committee, Residents Health Committee. We meet monthly. We also meet with Leanne Bailey Clayton, who is the administrator for the Health Center. And our goal in this committee is to be an advocate for optimal health care at the Forest. And we do that by trying to relate with our independent living residents, our healthcare center residents, the staff in the health center, and administration overall. Currently, we have a census of 70 individuals. This was a little bit of an uptick, and I think we all are concerned, will there be room for me when I may need to go to the health center? And the answer is yes. We've never exceeded the number of beds available, and we're not really pushing that now at the present time. The numbers kind of vary back and forth, so you just have to, that's part of life. One thing we learned at our last meeting that I think it's important to recognize is that depending on the census of the health center, we do have direct admits. And that is somebody who's not been a resident in the independent living community can be admitted to the health center based on their needs, but they pay full long-term care rates if that happens. And so we currently have 8 individuals who are in that position at the present time. Stanford mentioned that we don't have a caucus at the present time in the health center. We don't actually have the individuals in the health center who can actually make a caucus work currently. So we've we've tried to fill in the gap for that in a couple of ways. One, Judy Vick and Joe Moskoff are meeting monthly with the Health Center Caucus, which is not Caucus, Council, which is a monthly meeting, and they attend, by invitation, they attend this meeting along with health center residents, and there are about 15 people who attend each time. We've carved out time in those meetings, about 15 to 20 minutes, or it could be longer, when no staff are available, and the health center residents can talk to Judy and Joe, which in turn can get communications back to us and the health center, the health committee, about what concerns might be a meeting available at the present time. In addition to that, we have we have concerns and compliments that come on a very regular basis. Carol Carson, our wonderful statistician, collates all of that information point by point, month by month, and color codes it. And it is a wonderful way for us to keep track, not of each individual concern unless they're severe, but rather what the trends might be. And then we can address those and work with Leanne and others to try to correct that. So that's one thing we do that sort of takes the place of what a caucus might do in a situation like this. Second thing we're doing, and we're just getting this process started, is to actually provide an opportunity for people in independent living to actually communicate what's going on in independent living back to residents in the health center who are still interested, even though they may be there permanently and are not able to participate us on a regular basis. As you well know, we have health center residents who come periodically and dine in Heartwood or in Rosewood. And so we're trying to make this something that where we can get a flow of information to the people in the health center about what's happening in independent living. Likewise, we are attempting to find ways in which we can get information about residents in the health center back to independent residents. And so we had a wonderful article by Diane Strauss in the last Forrester. We've had a number of biographies that have been written by Judy Tibbetts and my wife Cheryl. These give you a picture of what these individuals have done through their lives so that we don't feel like we're totally separated from the individuals. I think we're doing well in our health center. We're not going to be meeting during the summer, but we'll keep track on issues that are going. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ken Barrett, and I will be making the presentation today for the IT committee for Christian, who is unable to attend because he broke his shoulder. The Information Technology Committee collaborates with the Forest at Duke's IT department to develop programs and services and resources that ensure high-quality technology to be both accessible and user-friendly for TFAD residents. The committee also assists residents in effectively using that available technology. This report represents some of the key activities of the committee. In partnership with the Forest IT department, the committee is working to ensure that new residents of the terraces have information for timely access to the Spectrum TV services, to their apartment Wi-Fi, and that they have an understanding of how to proceed with any additional Spectrum options, such as the ACC network or DVRs, so that they can implement those shortly after they move in. To address some concerns expressed by Forest residents about difficulty reading the Forester online on their phones, the committee is evaluating a dedicated computer with a large display to be placed in the library. This will provide an improved experience for viewing the Forester online. Residents have also expressed questions about the security of the Cubigo system. After a thorough review of both by the committee and by the IT staff, Cubigo has been deemed secure and appropriate for safe use by the residents. The IT committee is responsible for overseeing the retention of residents association records. The current strategy includes using Cubigo for distributing up-to-date current information. Archived information will continue to be stored in the RA document room. In addition, a new digital system will be implemented to store transitioned RA website content and to provide residents with access to archived and current records. The committee is also developing a list of deceased Forest residents, which will be made available digitally for reference by current residents. And finally, the IT committee encourages all residents to review and update their biographies and put them on Cubigo to ensure their information is current and available to the new residents that we will meet this fall. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ellen Barrett, Chair of the Marketing Committee. The Marketing Committee's mission is to support the sales and marketing team by offering feedback, contributing new ideas, and actively participating in departmental initiatives to assist in recruiting prospective residents to the Forest at Duke. Let me start with the latest occupancy report, which our committee receives each month from the Sales and Marketing Department. There are 233 apartment and cottages in independent living. 220 of those units are currently occupied, which is 94%. 13 units are reserved, which is 99.9%. So there's really only one apartment right now that's being marketed, and that's 4045. It's an Elm. If you know anyone who would like it, please talk to marketing. And then the terraces. There are 4 remaining apartments in the terraces that are being offered to charter members. 30 charter members have yet to receive a first offer. So the expectation is that these apartments will soon be taken. Now, in March, when I last was here, I shared the framework of the welcome plan that's being developed for the terrace residents. Let me now tell you about several specific initiatives that are underway. We have a whole bunch of them, but these are a couple. The Floor Team 5 is planning a lunch highlighting the secrets of the forest, and I'm not going to tell you what they are, which will be held once the bistro is open, but before the actual move-in date for the terrace residents. And that would be for floor 5, and floor 5 will be the first floor that will move in. Floor teams 5, 4, 3, and 2 are working with sales and marketing on the production of the Meet Your Neighbor booklets, which will be available as each floor moves in. The booklets will also be available on Cubigo for our current residents and independent living to learn who is who. And then finally, the floor team captains last week attended the latest caucus committee meeting to become familiar with their responsibilities and duties. Each floor in the terraces will be a caucus, and the floor team captain will be a temporary caucus leader until someone from that floor takes on that responsibility. And each of our floor team captains will be very eager to find that terrace representative. An equally important part of the welcoming the terrace residents and getting them to mingle with existing residents is through the Terrace Mentor Program. Here are some highlights. Mentor training for both existing independent living mentors and the terrace mentors will be held June 23rd or July 21 or August 18th from 3:30 to 4:30 in the party room. The response to the training has been very positive. You really only have to go to one of those sessions. But if you want to go to 2, you're more than welcome. The Terrace Mentor Program currently has 43 mentor units. A mentor unit is either a couple or an individual, but we're not counting 2 couple. It's confusing, but Rose has it all figured out. It's a mentor unit. And there's 67 terrace units that are currently part of the move-in. 10 of those terrace units will be occupied by those in the early acceptance program, so we don't think they're going to need as much mentoring as some of the others. And additional terrace mentors are still welcome. And Rose Mills, right here beneath me, would be most interested if you still want to sign up. Our summer meeting schedule, we will not have a meeting in July. We will have a Zoom meeting for check-in with where we are, how we're getting along with our projects in August, but we will meet again in September. I want to just thank you for your continued interest and support. And I feel very lucky to be working with a committee that seems to be so energetic and interested in creating ideas. And we're looking forward to welcoming the terrace residents. And I hope when I return in November or October that our plan is working.
Adjust this. Hi, I'm Cindy Deal, and I'm the chairman of the Resident Services Committee. Under that, are a number of ways to learn a little more about living here at the Forest. The Encore store is chaired by Kathleen Allen. They are unable to use their office because of the construction project. Hopefully that will be ending soon. They are also waiting for an empty cottage or apartment to stage a sale of furniture that they've been amassing for months. And they even got a spinet, if anybody knows how to play that. Kathleen also does the lobby flowers, and the residents continue to donate the arrangements, and there have been no gaps all summer. Gift shop, that is Lynn Langmeyer, and I was just in there before this meeting. They have a lot of neat stuff in there, y'all. You ought to go check it out. Library, Linda McBride reports that we have a new librarian. It is Diane Strauss, who wrote that article in the last Forest Forward. She has been a librarian for many years, and she's a resident here. And then finally, the Forester, Linda Camel, Lisa Camel, can't read my own writing. The next edition will be available in October. They take the summers off. Thank you.
That concludes the standing committee reports, and I'd like to thank all the directors for their great service over this past quarter and keeping it in a succinct presentation. Thank you much, team. Next on the agenda. Fall, fall. We got there. A Norco report from Margaret Keller. Margaret?
I'll try to be very brief. Can you hear me? Okay, good. For most of you, this is like same song, second verse, and I apologize for that, but there is at least a little bit of new news, okay? Those of you who are new to the Forest, and I don't see many faces that look new to me, would not know that many decades ago, through the initiative of an individual, we became one of the few states that have our CCRCs regulated by a state agency. And in the state of North Carolina, that's the Department of Insurance. That original statute is now probably about 35 years old, okay? It's undergone some changes, but not major changes in those years. And so 3 years ago, the representatives of residents, NORCRA, like us, representatives of Leading Age, the administrators organization of which Anita is a part, and members of the Department of Insurance began to look at things that needed to be changed. And so a modified statute was developed, and for the last 3 years, we've been trying to get that considered and passed by the General Assembly. I'm happy to report that last week, the House passed our bill unanimously. Now, it begins going through the committees of the Senate. With good luck, we may find it passed before this short session of the General Assembly ends. And if that happens, we'll all feel we've really accomplished something. It's a very long statute. No one should try to feel they need to read it, but it does contain very important rules and regulations for our protection as residents of CCRCs in North Carolina. And as many of you will remember, that was clearly demonstrated about 6 months ago in the case of the Aldersgate community in Charlotte, which the Department of Insurance had to take over. That's unusual, but it does mean that the statute works when it needs to work. So we hope the modified statute will be in place once the General Assembly ends this year, and I'll keep you up to date about that. Thank you.
That basically concludes the meeting. If anybody has any questions, issues, uncertainties, please feel free to contact the executive team, myself as president, Mike Bracy as vice president, Don Chan as treasurer, or secretary, or Andre as treasurer, or contact the directors directly to get the information that you might have or provide us with issues that we can carry forward to make things are moving forward. Right now, we're entering the transition period. Everything, I believe, is under control. Will there be surprises? Yes. Will we be able to cope with them? I'm very confident we will. With that, I make the recommendation the meeting be adjourned. All those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure meeting with you all day.
We can look them down.
Just keep moving, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Everybody's here.
She's got it together, and so it's, yeah, it's really fun to work with their staff.
Yeah, your staff, and then everyone, if you go, they say, what can we do to make people happy?
Yeah.
Everyone knows the answer to that question. They
You would agree.
Well, no, keep them in small groups.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty clear. Because otherwise they would be terrified. Tight up, tight out.
Yeah.